And you know what? That'll bring me to the next topic. My trade suggestion that I should have brought up last episode, and I said nah, because now all the analysts and insiders are like, "Yeah, this is a good idea, guys. I thought of this." And I'm not saying I was the first to come up with my trade proposal here, but it's just like that's just how timing works. Where you think of something, you put it aside, think, it's not the time,
I can
and then
confirm.
someone beats you to it.
I can confirm
So,
he
anyways,
sent it on the
yeah,
Friday before, like the Friday.
yes.
I was at work. It's like 9 p.m. and then he sends his trade, and then it made sense. I'll let you say it what it is, but yeah, 2 days before the
Yeah,
pod we recorded last week, so it's gonna be about 10 days. 10 days ago.
yeah. If you listened to that episode, you know that I shelved the take, and I came up with the take in one of my classes where I wasn't paying attention, and
Nice.
I was doing this on Capfrelly
How much do you
instead.
pay on tuition again? How much you're schooling per year?
Confidential, confidential. Um, anyways, uh, instead of my money, let's talk about the Leafs' money. And like I said, I was on Capfriendly, making the numbers work. And the trade proposal I came up with is between the trade would be between the Leafs and the Columbus Blue Jackets, where the Leafs would be receiving Vladislav Gavrikov, who, like I said, Sarah Valley's mentioned it. A bunch of people, a bunch of insiders have mentioned it as an option. Not even, once again, not even saying that there's hard proven it's there's nothing to say this is going to happen or that the Leafs have even considered it, but it's just like people saying, "Hey, this is a name that makes sense." And Gavrikov to me makes so much sense. He is exactly in that Muzzin mold that Ilya Labushkin plus is kind of what I would have him as. And once again, going back to the Columbus series, he impressed me from then. That's when he first came into the NHL. I believe that was his first season, and he was impressive. Him and David Savard were shutting us down big time. It was like they had two first pairings. Jones and Werenski kicked our butt big time. They were workhorses. But that second pair, those guys made a big difference. So, big fan of Gavrikov. Would be 100% an upgrade on really.
Anybody.
I'd say yeah, like he's an upgrade on Hall, and the way that Sandin's been playing, he'd be an upgrade on him, and he would keep Giordano's minutes down because he could definitely step into that second yeah, basically Muzzin's role. He would take over where Muzzin left off.
Gavrikov's a lefty, right? Yeah, I think
He
so.
is a lefty.
So
He is a lefty. I don't know if he
Gavrik,
plays both sides, but
he would be an upgrade on every single defenseman you have defensively. Like, period.
defensively, yes. No, he'd be our best defensive defenseman. Yes, 100%. So yeah, that's the main part of the trade. I want to say his cap number is like 2.8, somewhere near that. So that was the
That's a
first portion of the
steal.
trade.
Oh my goodness.
So I was saying, let's Gavrikov is who part of the Leafs would be receiving. And I also threw, he's not a throw in, but I said Gustav Nyquist because I feel like the Leafs are going to get priced out of the top tier of left wingers. Like, I do not see us being able to pony up for a Patrick Kane. I don't see it, or a Bo Horvat. Like, I don't think the Leafs package would beat other teams' packages. Specifically, it seemed like the Bruins. Now, I can't even remember. I'm going to go ahead and check this. I want to know if the Bruins have their first, because if they do have their first, like I said, like, we're not beating that offer. Because I like some of the Bruins prospects. Specifically, I like Fabian Lysell. He was drafted a couple years ago. He almost made this team out of camp. And yeah, he's a guy that I think they might be willing to give up because this is such an all-in year for them. I did just check. They've got first-round picks for the next 3 years. They don't have their second for this year, next year, but they can put up a hell of a package, and I don't see any
I
reason why they won't. And I don't think the Leafs would be wise to put in Matthew Nyes for a rental, taking us out of the Patrick Kane and Bo Horvat market. So where does that leave us? That leaves you in the next tier of left wingers, guys who can comfortably fit in that second line, third line role. I picked Gustav Nyquist because I think this is a guy who has the offensive skills to maybe gel with a Tavares and Nylander. This is a burner. This is a guy with speed, and you need that to compensate on a line with Tavares. So
yes.
to make this work numbers wise, you would need to have get Nyquist retained at 50%. I believe he makes 5.5 million for just this year. He's a UFA in the summer. So you would have to have the numbers work that way. It could either be a third team involved to retain on it, or Columbus themselves outright. Now the return. So how does this deal make sense for Columbus? So if you just had to put a tag, and I've heard people ask this question already. What is the tag on Gavrikov? I think most people would estimate it to be a second round pick. But in a bidding war, if enough teams are interested, I could see it being a late first. Would you agree on that front, Brian?
I'd say so.
Yeah.
Or
So
like or a high end prospect.
yes, like a low A tier prospect, like maybe a team's second or third best prospect, right?
Yes.
Something like that. I think the Blue Jackets would probably be more interested in pure draft capital because you know what, they've got actually a pretty good prospect system and some young guys already in the lineup. Cole Sillinger, um, uh, Kent Johnson, those are the main two guys there. David Jiricek, who they drafted this year. I think they would probably be good with some pure draft capital there. So Leafs first round pick has to go out the other way this year. So that's the 2023 first. I say that because, like I said, I expect a bidding war for Gavrikov. The guy's going to be popular. He's going to be the trendy name come trade deadline. So you got to give up your first. How are you getting Nyquist? The more I think about it, it might even have to be a little bit more. You might have to sweeten the deal. I think what I came to the conclusion of was our third, because we do have a third. I don't think we have a second. And then once again, to make the money work, you do have to have Engvall go out the door. And then obviously Nyquist takes that forward position in the top 12. Once again, the Engvall doesn't necessarily have to go in this trade. It's any team really that's willing to take Engvall. And I think this might be the biggest, literally, this is the biggest holdup to this deal, is if someone just wants to take a flyer on this guy just because. Teams have done this before. Like sometimes at the trade deadline, you know who did this actually? Like Buffalo did this a couple years ago. They just decided, yeah, we're not making the playoffs, but I'll take Wayne Simmons. Do you remember that?
I don't. I didn't even know.
Exactly.
That's like
Yeah.
really forgettable. Wow.
Like the Sabres were not making the playoffs, and they're just like, give us Wayne Simmons for the culture, do it for the culture. That's what happened there. I obviously Pierre Engvall's not Wayne Simmons, but and once again, now I'm rethinking it in my head. Even if nobody wants Engvall, you send him to the minors because he makes 1.8 million. That's almost fully variable. It'd probably be variable up to I think it's like 1.25 million. So you do that if you have to. And trust me, I can make the numbers work. We'll make the numbers work.
Or you
So
ship him off
like,
somewhere. As long as you get the money back. As long as
yes,
as long as you get the money off the board, off the books, then you're
yeah,
fine.
like he's a UFA at the end of the year. So it would literally just be anybody please take this man. That's where we're at with Engvall. And then yes, you do have to add more to this deal. It'd probably be, like I said, the third, and then it's a B tier prospect from the Leafs. Specifically, which one? It is tough to say. It's probably whichever one Columbus likes the most. Who's in that tier? Guys like Ronnie Hirvonen. There's a couple more unknown names that are starting to get known that are tearing it up in the juniors. There's a guy like Ty Voigt. That's a guy who's been tearing it up. And I think there's another guy in the USHL whose name escapes me. But those are the type of names that make up the Leafs B tier. Maybe even like a Fraser Minton, who was their most recently high draft pick in the second round last year. Basically, anyone who's not named Matthew Nyes, Topi Niemola, or Nick Robertson is the prospects that you're willing to trade here. So that was the little deal I consummated.
I like the deal for you guys, but in a bidding war, it's gonna be tough to get it done.
That's where I see the Leafs falling. Like that's why, like they don't have the. We burned our assets year after year. Understandably so.
You also need that I'm of the opinion that I don't like rentals. I don't like going and getting the one guy, like grabbing one guy from like the big name on the block, because when we did it, it was Shattenkirk, right? And obviously that didn't work out.
That was a disaster.
And that burned us, man. Like the guy had for like future New Yorker or like I love New York in his Twitter bio while playing for us. Like, what are you doing? But regardless, I don't know, man. That's a big package just for 1 year, just for one run. Even from Boston's standpoint, like I don't think I'd do it. Like I don't believe in that.
You wouldn't do it with no guarantees that Bergeron and Krejci are coming back and Pastrnak in line for a huge deal. I think I would, man. If Patrick Kane is available or Bo Horvat, one of the big names at forward, Ryan O'Reilly.
Is it confirmed that like those guys are not coming back? You know, I'm not in the meeting room hearing the conversation.
Yeah, no, you're right.
And at the end of the day, like I'm building a system from the ground up. You know, finding the right pieces properly through the draft, finding undervalued guys through trades and stuff. You know, like maybe I'm just burned from the times that we did it. You know.
The Leafs have been burned many times too. Don't like Nick Foligno.
That's the one that sticks out.
Point.
Nick Foligno is the one that sticks out to me. But Like
Even
besides that,
Tyson Berry, if you want to say that, because he was a 1 year full rental that we made in the offseason, but we didn't resign him, we let him go, right? So I will say, here's my rebuttal to the rental thing. There's a team that I think me and you both liked last year in terms of the moves they made at the deadline. They made three moves that I think we were both in agreement were great, great moves, and I was jealous of as a Leafs fan. And that's the Rangers. They acquired three players at the deadline: Andrew Kopp, Tyler Mott, Justin Braun. Those were three guys I had on the Leafs target list, like 100%. I would have taken any of those three guys. And they made a huge difference on the Rangers' run there. Andrew Kopp was a de facto number two center for them. That guy was incredible for them. Tyler Mott, instant fan favorite. And if he wasn't, he's a little injury prone. And if he wasn't, that guy, he's doing good on Ottawa this year. I think he's got like 7 or 8 points, which for a fourth liner is good. That guy's a culture changer. And Justin Braun, his analytics last year
fantastic.
were really good as like a number 5-6 D. I don't know how they are this year. And I'll tell you what, like the 2 years ago, he was terrible. Maybe last year was an aberration, but that was a guy last year who I said, I'm willing to throw. They probably paid like a fourth or fifth round pick for him. So there are ways to make the rentals work. There are sometimes slam dunk rental pickups. It's when you make that stupid rental deal that's when you run into trouble.
And I also
Um,
think that
yeah.
like draft picks are more. I value draft picks really highly, considering like my interest in like the draft and finding the right prospects through the right systems. You know what I mean? Like if
Yes.
for example, like you can build a team completely from the draft, like having all your players from the system.
Hmm.
Um, and if you're gonna make like a trade or like a trade, like you gotta like, and specifically with the Rangers, make it worth your while. Get an undervalued asset for an overvalued asset. The one that I'm gonna bring up is the Brassard Zibanejad trade. It was Brassard Brassard and a fourth for Zibanejad and a second, right? Like I don't get how people didn't have their eye on Zibanejad like from day one. And then when it was coming out, it was like, oh my goodness, the the Senators fleeced the Rangers. But like that's the way you make a trade. You look for undervalued assets. Kind of like this is kind of bad
Colorado does
example,
it.
but like uh round. Pardon me.
No, I was going to say Colorado does it.
Oh
Like
yeah,
for me,
yeah.
the example is Devon Tays, where they paid 2 second round picks for Devon Tays, and he becomes one of the best defensemen in the NHL.
Or even going to us, for example, the Eller trade.
Hmm.
You know, everybody remembers the 2016 draft because this guy named Austin Matthews got drafted. I remember the 2016 draft because that's when we made the trade for Lars Eller. 2 second round picks became
And that was a footnote, man.
yeah.
Like that was like it wasn't a big deal that trade. But wait, did you say it was 2 second round picks though?
It was two
That's
second round
expensive, bro.
picks. It was 2 second round picks. Then Montreal flipped those 2 second round picks for Andrew Shaw.
Okay, well, you came up on top, out on top with that then.
Oh, 100%. And like it went us
Yeah,
the cup, like genuinely. Like that's how you make a trade, You bring a guy in and then like you vet him into the system and you're
yeah.
going to get a couple years out of him. Like you get value out of those picks. Like, I don't even know who those second round picks are now right now. Like I don't care because look at the way it turned out. But meanwhile, that I'm pretty sure that first round pick we sent to St. Louis ended up being Tage Thompson. Or like
Oh God,
something like that. Like we sent it, then we traded for it back, and the pick we
you
sent
better
back to
hope
them
not,
was.
man.
I'm pretty sure it was Tage Thompson. Like I know it was a U.S. product, 100% it is. But like if you think of it like that, it's like come on, like think of what it
Yeah,
could have been, and that's a. I don't know, like that's just my spiel. But even going back to trading prospects out for rentals, I support a team that traded away Philip Forsberg for 6 months of Martin Erat.
yeah.
So
That's
you got to
legendary
understand,
trade right there.
you know.
Yes, but like there is two sides to every coin. I
Yeah,
think of I honestly just going back to the last year, and this is still a story that isn't fully written, but the big prospect that the Florida Panthers had to give up for Claude Giroux, who was the big prospect, Brian, along with the first round pick. But who was it?
I
He's
actually don't
Owen
remember.
Tippett.
Oh, Owen
He's
Tippett.
Owen
Yeah,
Tippett. Like what do we think about Owen Tippett? He's got a
he's
shot. Like
mediocre. He's a third,
exactly,
second liner at best. Yeah.
exactly. So like, if we might get to that point with Nick Robertson.
Also,
I like Nicky Robbie, but this is once again unwritten story. We'll revisit these trade ideas as the season progresses. But just bringing it up now, right?
But like going back to the Senators and the Florida trade,
Yeah.
they added Claude Giroux. You're talking about in your situation. You're talking about Gustav Nyquist. You know,
Yeah. Okay. No. No. I'm talking more like let's go back to those huge examples like the
yes,
Patrick Kane or Bo Horvat.
that's true. That's
If the
true.
prospect they want is Nick Robertson, I think about it. I do think about it. If it's Matthew Nyes,
It's a no.
it's tough. It's really tough. Yeah. Yeah.
I,
That's
anyway,
that's the line for me.